That's all his job consists of. There you go. Now he's at the point in his career where he can tell people no or yes or maybe or whatever he wants. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody that's here tonight to our August 12th Nampa Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I'll make the first announcement. The item from June 24th for the group home has been withdrawn by the applicant. So if anybody's here for that, it's been withdrawn. So, report on council actions? Oh, let's do roll call first.
Garner. Miller.
Here.
Dapper.
You say Dapper? You here?
Turner.
Here.
Kehoe.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Kirkman.
Here.
Selman.
Here.
Copeland.
Here.
We have 8 present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Planning and Zoning Commission. We had 3 public hearings come before the City Council at this last meeting, and this was for August 4th. The first one was a zoning map amendment. This was to rezone to match the area zoning and for future development near the northeast corner of South Garland Street and Sunny Ridge Road. And from RA to RD, you had recommended approval, and that was approved. The next one was an annexation and zoning and preliminary plat for Millwood Pines. And this is 56 single-family detached lots and 6 common lots near the southwest corner of Cherry Lane and 11th Avenue North for Hayden Homes. And you had recommended approval on May 13th. And the council did approve that one as well. And then finally, zoning map amendment and conditional use permit. This is a contractor's landscape office. This is the one just south of the railroad tracks off of Happy Valley Road and just north of Greenhurst Road. And this one was storage of planting materials and intermittent outdoor storage of heavy equipment. And this was recommended for approval by you on May 27th, and City Council approved that one as well. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Rodney. I would like to, from the stand, welcome our new commission member, Meredith Copeland. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about yourself, or we're happy to have you. We're happy to have that seat full. Make something up.
Thank you for having me. I've been a resident of Nampa for pretty much my whole life, since I was 15 years old. And I'm excited to be a part of the process to watch it grow and help it to grow so that everybody wants to stay and the people that come are happy with it also.
Well, we're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will get started. The way it works, plain and simple, applicant will come up, give their presentation. They'll have 7 minutes. We will try to keep our questions till the end of their presentation, just to make things go a little smoother. And staff will give their presentation. Then we'll open up public hearing. Each speaker or each person that comes up to testify will have 3 minutes to speak, and then we will have the opportunity at the end of that time to ask questions. Once you have spoken once on an item, that's the only time you get. So,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's been moved by Garner, seconded by Kirkman. Okay, and then after the public hearing is, or after the public has given their testimony, we'll give the applicant a time to come back up and answer questions or rebut. we'll close the public hearing, and then we will deliberate and make a decision on each item. We just ask that everybody in the crowd, please, and on the bench, please be as quiet as possible because the meeting is being recorded. And for listening to later, or those online, it is hard to understand and hear if there's voices in the background. So, with that, we will get started with our first item, conditional use permit to allow reduced rear yard setback for a single lot in an RS6 zoning district at 523 Sunny Lane for Michael Underwood is the applicant here.
Hello and good evening. My name is Michael Underwood. I'm the property owner for 523 Sunny Lane. I have a conditional use request. The request is to reduce the rear setback on an existing single-family dwelling. The existing property is, per county records, is 0.28 of an acre, so that's just over 12,000 square feet. With RS6 zone, minimum zoning size is 6,000. Maximum zoning size is 12,000. So currently, I'm slightly over the maximum allowable area for the zone. The intention of this is not whether I can or cannot split the lot. Prescriptively per the zoning code right now, I could split the lot. The intention of this is to provide a more uniform, consistent layout for the lots, creating two and more functionality for the new lot in the back. Other than that, the intention is to again align with City of Nampa's underutilized developed land on interior infill and utilize this lot to its biggest potential. Again, I'd like to reiterate, just so everybody's aware, the intention is not whether I can or can't split the lot. It's just this provides a much more uniform layout, provides a much better buildable space. There's also a large tree that isn't depicted here that's kind of off to the back left side. It would also allow the split to not impede on that or somehow subject the tree to being removed. Other than that, I don't really have much else.
Okay, anybody have questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the tree you're talking about, is it behind
You see where the
the easement? Is it on that side?
No, the large tree is if you depict like the N on the new build, there it is. So it's kind of in the back left corner of the lot.
Yeah.
The intention is to provide access along, if you're staring at the front of the house, provide access along the left side of the property line. So there'd be an easement recorded, and then the new dwelling would naturally sit in that back right corner with a potential parking spot kind of in the back left corner of the property so that the tree can remain unimpeded.
Okay. All right, we'll call you back up.
Thank you.
Damien.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Damian Snodgrass, Associate Planner. The requested action item for tonight is a conditional use permit to allow for reduced rear yard setbacks on a single lot per code 10-8-5.A.4 in an RS6 single-family residential zoning district. Some of the property details currently under the comprehensive plan. This is medium density residential designation. The current zoning is RS6. And the lot size is 12,002 square feet, so it's just over being in conformance with that zone. The surrounding land uses are all RS6, and there is currently public utilities and services available to the property. Here are the applicable regulations for a conditional use permit that we can cover later on in the findings, as well as the applicable regulations that allow for this conditional use permit to come into effect. Per this code, a conditional use permit may be requested to reduce the rear yard setbacks for a single lot, as well as the code allowance for the lot sizing per the RS6 zone. And as seen previously, here is a sketch of what the intended lot split would be at the time of a property boundary adjustment. If this conditional use permit were to be approved, this is the concept. For correspondence, we received a few comments. Nampa Fire District provided a comment around general access and water supply comments. This was attached in the packet. Nampa Police Department provided a commitment of funding for 1 additional officers and 0 additional support staff, maintain current police levels. The building department approved of the CUP with the following conditions: that the site drainage from the existing structure with reduced setback is addressed and diverted in an approved manner, and at the exception of R 401.3 and the 2018 IRC when lot lines prohibit the required 6-inch fall, and the first 10 feet of drains or swells shall be constructed to ensure drainage away from the structure. And for the last comment from engineering, we received some general comments around the public utilities and some conditions that the applicant shall comply with all city codes, policy standards. No building shall encroach within the public easements. If necessary, the applicant shall coordinate with the Nampa engineering to determine a partial vacation or an easement. And the applicant / owner shall provide the necessary legal descriptions for utility and access easement upon time of the property boundary adjustment. So for the proposed findings, the first is that the proposed use is supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan. The Nampa Comprehensive Plan defines this as infill development and using an underutilized lot. So staff has found this to be met. That the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the property and project will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. This project qualifies as infill development because it is increasing the density of an underutilized lot, and the parcel already has the ability to be developed as is. The application was only regarding this rear setback. The third criteria is that the proposed use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services. Currently, there are access to services, so staff found this to be met. And that the proposed use will not involve any activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any persons, property, or general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glares, or odors. The proposed use must conform to International Building Code. The proposed project is within an existing residentially zoned area, and the parcel has the ability to be developed as is, so since this is regarding the setback, nothing would be changed. Weighing all the facts, staff has concluded that this meets all the criteria per code. And so here are the proposed conditions of approval. In the highlighted, I forgot some verbiage from the conditions I took off of another one. There is no duplex for this. This is just for the reduction of setbacks. So the conditions are as follows. The applicant shall comply with all city codes, policies, and standards at place and time of building permit. No building shall encroach within public utility easements. Applicant owner shall provide necessary legal descriptions for utility access and easements upon time of lot split review. And the applicant shall be required to submit a property boundary adjustment application with planning and zoning and any additional conditions that the commission may add. Here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Hey, Damien, so do we have a proposal for the dwelling that's going to go back there? And what's the requirement for setbacks on the new lot? Will there be?
So the new lot, we don't have any proposed plans right now for the actual dwelling that would go on the lot, but the new lots would have to be in conformance with current city codes. So you're 15 feet to the living structure, 20 feet to the garage, 5 feet on the sides, and 15 feet on the rear of whichever way the residence is facing.
Mr. Chair, on that note, they could come back in and request another CUP on a new building for a reduction in those setbacks, if necessary.
If necessary, it would have to come back in front of the commission as a new application.
Chair, one more follow-up. Is the CUP for one sole setback, or can you request it for every single setback?
So each CUP would have to be for an individual setback on the individual lot per this code. So you can't request this same CUP for multiple. That would have to be under a PUD.
No, what I meant is like for his new dwelling unit in the rear lot, so a separate lot, can he request setbacks for all of the setbacks on that lot? Or can he just request for one?
Meaning, could he do front?
Like
rear,
all the way
side,
around.
all?
Yeah, every setback applying to that rear lot, could he request that they be modified, or is it only applicable to one single setback?
So this setback only applies to the rear, which is the reduction from 15 to 5. The current side setbacks are already at 5 feet, so you
Right.
couldn't reduce any more than that on those side setbacks. Within the front setbacks, there are a couple reductions, but not in this particular application's case.
So I was basically saying hypothetically, right? So we know the front setbacks, they're requesting the rear setback to be adjusted, we get that. But what I'm saying is on that new lot behind, if he were to come back, can he request that every single one of the setbacks is adjusted if it is dwelling unit, or can he only request one setback for one of the setbacks?
It can only be for one of the lines, and it has to be the rear setback per this code.
Just, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Just to clarify, you can come in with a request for a reduction of setbacks as one project and have multiple properties all in one development have approval for setbacks. So I just wanted to make sure that's really clear. So all in one motion, you could take care of multiple properties with setbacks.
But in terms of what I was asking about that back lot, it could only apply to one
Correct.
line. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair. So I'm just going to restate what I think is obvious. My understanding is the CUP would be approved with a 5-foot setback, and then they would do a lot split along that line in order to have 2 different lots for a single development on each lot.
That would be correct.
So, in my mind, a CUP is relatively temporary compared to a lot split. In other words, I don't see a reason why, but a CUP could be revoked. What would that do then? To the lot, I mean, we're making a permanent adjustment based on what is technically a temporary approval. Any concerns with that?
I'm going to defer to Rodney on this.
Mr. Chair and Commission, it's hard to speculate for us what's going to happen. I think at that time we'd have to look at what's possible. Essentially, if one of those actions was revoked for some reason, then you would be left with a property that essentially couldn't be developed, right? So then they'd have to come in and go through the process again to confirm that, hey, this property can be developed in this situation.
Well, the rear property would be conforming. It would be this front property that now has a lot line that's 5 feet away from the structure.
But I guess
I understand it's hypothetical.
what would cause that? What would cause the CUP to be revoked at that point? Because it's not like they wouldn't be in
Yeah.
performance of something, because it's a lot line.
That's correct. A lot of CUPs, such as a duplex, if we were to approve a duplex, it's a permanent thing, right?
Yeah.
It gets constructed, it complies with the code. It doesn't get revoked because it's a permanent situation.
Yeah.
The building permit locks it into place. So we have those situations. I just
Fair
can't
enough.
see this being, you're right that some CUPs are somewhat temporary because they're based on a use of the property that's not a permanent
Well,
situation.
And a lot of CUPs are owner specific. I assume this was specific to the property and not
That's
to the owner,
correct.
'cause that would be a
Yeah.
problem, right?
And-
That'd take the home with them.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commission, that is correct. We do tie things directly to an applicant sometimes. In this situation, we wouldn't do that.
Good idea.
And that's not excuse me, Mr. Chair, but that's not something that we'd have specifically need to make in whatever motion might be presented?
No.
Okay.
And then I guess my follow-up question would be, never mind, I'm gonna drop it. I'm good.
Thank you.
Wait, can I speak, Mr. Chair? I guess I would not understand why you would do it through a CUP and not a variance.
That was my question.
A variance seems like the way that this is normally handled, but I'm just not sure.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this is just one of the allowable uses by code. Could go through a variance, but in this very specific request to a single setback, we have it written in code that they can go the conditional use route rather than the variance route.
which means they don't have to go to city council.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
There's those procedure.
And Mr. Chair, I might add, state law has something similar in their conditional use section of the Land Use Planning Act, that you can do what a variance does through a CUP. And so you see that at the state level as well. So it's not just unique or a one-off for Nampa.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up for this item? Is there anybody that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item? Anybody online? No? Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate you guys' time. I would bring it to the point that if it is a concern that I do eventually come back and start requesting additional rear yard, side yard setbacks, that's not the intention. I think with this CUP, that reduction in that one rear yard setback, it really hinders just the newly developed lot that I would also be ownership of. And I think with that kind of development strategy, that the dwelling that I envision back there wouldn't need kind of another reduced rear yard setback. I'm really not looking to just jam them all in there and just maximize, like, it just, I don't think I would need to do that. If that was a condition that you guys need to put on there to feel comfortable with moving forward, that would be fine with me. But again, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved by Morgan, seconded by Garner. Close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. What do you guys think? Pretty simple.
Glad he's saving the tree.
Yeah? There you go.
That was my biggest concern, too. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the project as stated on the screen with recommended conditions and proposed findings.
Second.
You're pushing it, buddy. It's been moved by Kirkman, seconded by Kehoe to approve this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision and reason statement is provided to the applicant unless an appeal has been filed to the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Okay, we will move on to item number 2, replat of subdivision preliminary plat for Magnolia Estates in an RD zoning district, addressed as 0 North Lion Head Avenue, 0 Northside Boulevard, 0 West Violet Street, 1819 Northside Boulevard, and 0 Northside Boulevard for Kent Brown, representing Sean Brownlee, Trilogy, Idaho.
For the record, Kent Brown, 3161 East Springwood is my address. With staff's help, we had a number of things that we were looking at doing. When we did the original preliminary plat, there was an out parcel in the north, the existing home site. And since that time, we purchased it. It was annexed and zoned at the same time, so everything had the same annexation and utilities were stubbed to it. So we needed to go through a preliminary plat process on that. The apartments that are at the south part, you changed your code for that area, and it allowed, instead of requiring 14,000 square foot lots, it allowed it to go down to 12. So looking at that, we could pick up one more unit in the south, and we needed to do the upper part, and staff recommended this as submitting a replat of that. So this drawing shows Magnolia 1, which is most of the single family, has already been recorded. Building permits have been taken out on every single lot. I didn't know that until I drove through this afternoon. So all of those lots have houses on them, and so it's basically none effect of a majority of the site. After submitting, we looked at it. I'm going to. There's the final plat for the first phase, and where those houses are going in. One of the comments was from the Parks Department about a pathway along the drain there. That pathway is in that entire length already and landscaped, wrought iron fence adjacent to it. It was the conditions that were on the other preliminary plat, so that's nothing new. When we submitted, we had the lot 5 was a buildable lot, and we got looking at it, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me that how livable is that lot that would be in the middle with a driveway on either side. The road is built in front of it, and so basically we have no road improvements. And what we need is to take care of the storm drainage that would be created from those driveways. And it makes a lot more sense to have an open space. So from the report, talks about 46 buildable single-family lots. We've reduced it by 1, and it's now 45. And that's about the only change that really has taken place. I asked the builder to give us kind of a house plan on that. You have to know which is the driveways and so forth, but many of you have been here a while, so you would see which ones of those are. There's 3 of the houses that would have 3-car garages, and the other 4 would have 2-car garages. With that storm drain in the middle. So that's all I have, unless you had some questions about what we're doing and how we got here.
Okay, thanks, Kent. We'll call you back up. Okay, Rodney.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Rodney Ashley, Planning and Zoning Director for the record. I think we've gotten a good description of what's being done here. I just want to point out a couple of things that that I'm showing as the new concept. I should have changed this to new concept instead of original concept. The original was for 46 single-family detached and 13 common lots. That has since changed, as has been described by the applicant, to 45 and 14 common lots. So again, this is the old. This area up here in the top is where the new homes would go. And here is the new, with the new homes and the new common area shown as well. So just a quick history here. December 2021, City Council approved annexation and zoning to RD and the preliminary plat for Magnolia Estate subdivisions with conditions. 2022, October, City Council approved the final plat for Phase 1. September 2023, Nampa P&Z Commission approved a 1-year extension of Phase 1. And then once that got approved, it locks in the preliminary plat in place. So 2024 and 2025, some building permits pulled for construction of homes in Phase 1, and it sounds like all of them. So that, again, that has locked in the final plat and the preliminary plat because of the buildings being constructed. So this location, I saw it north side in Ustick. Here's the zoning for the property. You can see it's to the north is RS7 Kinghorn subdivision. To the south is Canyon County residential across Ustick. And then to the east is RS7, that's the Heartland subdivision, and RD at the future Wood Poppy subdivision if approved by city council. Actually, that was not approved. That was from the previous staff report, so I should have corrected that. And then west was Canyon County Agriculture. Utilities are available. The emergency services, the nearest station is 1.7 miles for fire. That's 5-minute response time. Police nearest station is 3.9 miles. So here's the applicable regulations, and for all your sake, but especially for new commissioners, this is the criteria that we have to look at when approving or denying a subdivision preliminary plat. So this first one gives the RD zoning district purpose. It has to protect, it's meant to protect quiet residential areas, and it allows a little bit of an increase in density. And it gives some examples of that, 2, 3, 4 units, attached units. In this case, it's attached 4 units in the bottom part of the development, and then single family detached on the northern part. So again, that has already been decided. The RD zone has already been decided on the property, so just want to give that for context. And then, of course, the description of what a subdivision is, when we would subdivide the property, and when it's required. And then this is really the action that you have to take tonight. Plats shall be highlighted in yellow. Plats shall be eligible for approval if all requisite needed application submittal materials have been received by the city. The proposed plat design complies with relevant zoning and subdivision standards, and engineering attests that the provision of services to the future development is available. The Planning and Zoning Commission shall evaluate a proposed plat's design based on city codes in making its determinations. So we've had other cases like conditional use permits, annexations. Those kinds of things have a list of criteria that describe what has to be found for each of those, and you have to make your decision based on those criteria. In this case, for a preliminary plat, it has to follow our process and it has to follow code. That's the criteria. And it's really not, should this go here? It's, does it comply with code? You can put conditions on a preliminary plat if there's things that arise in the public hearing process that are concerns and that can be mitigated, but it has to have a nexus. It has to tie back to the purpose of the application. Then the next section down there is for revised preliminary plats, and essentially it's just saying you have to go through the same process. You have to go through a public hearing, which they are doing today. Okay, so we had correspondence. We just had agency correspondence on this one. We had 2 open and active cases for weed, trash, debris, and unlicensed inoperative vehicles. The city forester said they need to select alternate tree species for Acer. I know I need to try. Maple. How about that? Then Nampa Police Department. The correspondence was originally received regarding the full plat, the original full plat. So we've already gone through that analysis to determine how many new police officers, how much budget they would need. That's already been determined, except now they're adding an additional, I think we determined 11 units or something. Yeah, 11 units now. So I put their comments here. They're 5.6 miles away. That's not changing anything for the project here. But they did indicate that 5.6 miles away is not typically accurate because they have police officers out in the community and they can usually get there faster. So I thought that was interesting to hear. Nampa Parks Department indicated the need for the easement, the 20-foot wide pathway being constructed. As has been indicated, it's already been done. Valley View School District, they did the same thing that the police department did. They looked at this as if it were a brand-new subdivision, and not that it had already been developed out for the most part. And so their comments were generally in opposition, but expressed concerns about the growth of the potential impact to schools in the future as the schools in that area are filled up. But again, their comments were already received in the past, so I think you need to be careful about those new comments. And essentially limit it to the 11 units. It was 12 until they recently changed that last one to a common area. And then Nampa Fire, same thing. They analyzed it as if it were brand-new subdivision, so. Okay, so here was my analysis of the plat. It's 21.67 acres. They're now proposing only 73 units total. Total common lot count is 14 rather than 13 because of the additional property that's circled in red there that is a common area. Open space acreage was more than, I didn't run the analysis because I just got this today, but, got to it today. 4.3 acres plus and 19.8 plus. Total square footage of building lot count is 45. Total fourplex building lot count is 15. And single family, the minimum square footage has to be 6,000 square feet for the RD zone. They're, well, and I'll tell you what they provide here in a second. And then the fourplex is 12,000 square feet. So with their proposed plat, they are, the minimum that they've provided or proposed is 6,099 square feet. And then the fourplexes was 12, just over 12,000, so they comply with that code. Periphery compatibility is not applicable here because the RV zone doesn't require it. And then the minimum lot width is 30 feet, and that is consistent with the plat. So I just took a quick shot of the southern section of their landscape plan to kind of point out what they're doing. There's a pickleball court here, there's a playground equipment here, and some open spaces and drainage in that area. No real changes to the north except for that one open space lot here now. And then, of course, on the side over here, because that wasn't originally a part of the plat. Right-of-way has already been dedicated. Landscaping plan was submitted with the application paperwork and reviewed by the city forester with the recommended changes. We've gotten those incorporated. A 6-foot vinyl fence, privacy fence is proposed around the perimeter of the majority of the development. Minimum qualified open space is 15. They're doing more than 19.8%. So they definitely complied with that. 6.2 acres is 28.4% of common area proposed in 13 common lots. That's including qualified open space and non-qualified open space. And all those amenities that have been listed here, including the pathway along the Mason Creek. Now, in your packet, I submitted a condition. When I was reviewing the plat, I noticed there was one label for the width of a property that was just weird to me. I have since talked to the applicant, and they indicated that the distance was a straight line from the property line edge to a curve on the curve table. And then, so if you included the curve description, or thank you, chord distance, then you add that 32 feet or whatever it was, then you get your distance. So once I got that clarification, I felt like we needed to just remove that as a condition. These other ones as well, I mean, most of them have already been addressed. The bike and ped master plan conditions, that's already done. But I included it just because we included it on the original plat. So it's just consistent, nobody questions it when we look back on this in the future. And then the findings of fact essentially are that they met the process, they followed the process for a preliminary plat, and they met the code. And here is a motion for your consideration, and as you see here, I've changed this to say, with all proposed conditions and findings of fact, as shown in the presentation and amended from the staff report, and as described as follows with these 45 single-family detached lots and 15 fourplex lots. And then I would stand for any questions.
Sure. Oh, shoot, saw my calculator out. All right. When this was originally approved, I guess, probably in the annexation and zoning part, was there any development agreement attached to it?
Give me a second, and I'll look that up.
And I guess the reason I'm asking is, a lot of times these get approved or denied based on the density and number of units. I know, I wanted to ask this earlier when you were talking about the criteria we need to abide by is, does it meet code or does it not? But we're adding up
So,
15.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Morgan, typically on these, if there is a development agreement, we put the preliminary plat in as the layout. The layout of the subdivision is not changing. They're taking that, they've added one lot, but the roadways and all of that are not changing. And then they've added the residential lots on the north with just common driveways. And so our review of this, even were there a development agreement with that preliminary plat in there, we would look at it as in substantial conformance with that original preliminary plat. And so it would not require any modification to the development agreement. As a general rule, as Rodney and I are looking that up, we'll make sure, but that's typically how we have interpreted these types of changes when something like this happens.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're not really adding density because you're adding more acreage to build that on anyway, right?
Correct.
I mean, it was kind of what I might have picked up off the record was, it was probably already planned for eventually developing that anyway. We've had developments in the past where adding even one more fourplex was a big deal. And it got shot back down by city council. I personally don't think it's a big deal, but I just wanted to put that out there. Don't worry about looking it up anymore, Rodney.
There was no development agreement in that annexation ordinance.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Madam Clerk, is there a sign-up sheet? Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this item? Okay. Come on up. Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me. My name is John Chapman. I live at 17706 Northside Boulevard in Nampa. Also, our family owns a property in the Polaria Way subdivision there in Northside Estates. I hadn't got a good view of this whole project until I listened to the whole thing. I still have opposition to doing more more doors, just because we don't have the infrastructure there for traffic. And we're getting a lot of industrial park type traffic that's dedicated to go down north side that can't go to Karcher's interchange. And north side isn't big enough yet either. So I'd be opposed to adding more to the existing deal other than the lots that they're going to have to build on. But if there's any way you could postpone everything they're doing from this point on until the road improvements, I'd recommend that type of thing. Still don't think the density is the correct density, even from the original plat. But in the past, I don't know whether you're treating this as a new plat or what you're doing, but in the past, they started looking at adding commercial sites on these developments because this particular developer is not doing PUDs anyplace. You guys are going to have to be in charge of some kind of PUD in the area. And so that was my understanding of what's supposed to be happening now, is there has to be some support systems in all this housing. And the density is higher than what is to the south. And this developer has not been able to develop land to the southeast because he doesn't have the ability to get in and out of the property well, and his density is too high, and he keeps asking for more density every time he comes in. So I think our density is too high for this time. There might be a point in time if they didn't develop now and then come back after all the road structures in and everything where we could handle the amount of traffic. But they're talking about 55 semi-trucks a day coming down north side and going into whatever they decide to do for an intersection there. If it's a roundabout, it needs to be almost as big as the one that they're going to put up at Karcher. And so, and then the design for Ustick is 5 lanes, and it hasn't been done yet. So I just think you're premature adding more stuff all the time. These guys can hold on to this and develop it as it goes. But you need some infrastructure. You're going to have people injured or killed just dealing with it.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? For, against, or undecided? Anybody online? Kent, can you come back up?
Anywhere in the valley, we all recognize the traffic and the road systems, and that's why you guys ask for traffic studies to be done and so forth. And your comprehensive plans talk about the densities that should go on different pieces of property. As I was out there today, I was going, well, it's not that far from the industrial stuff that's going in, and if I remember correctly from when I brought this forward and the property to the north forward, your comprehensive plan has the property to the west of us as being industrial type of properties. And the way that you handle traffic is by having your workforce people living closer to those. Now, doesn't mean that people are going to do that. You know, you have Micron, and where Micron's at in Boise, there's a bunch of developers looking at putting houses with a part of that expansion. And you guys are really bursting at the seams because I do industrial work also, and those clients are bringing some really nice manufacturing people to be there. And so having workforce housing or housing in those proximity areas and some of your commercial stuff that you have that's fairly close, you have vehicle trips that are saved because they're there. I don't understand what he's talking about with PUDs. We're doing PUDs all over as a part of what we're doing with Fred Myers and Caldwell. So there isn't anything that, as he said, this developer is not doing, we're doing. And we've kind of had to because the cities are looking at having that diversity. And so we've tried to, we've had to kind of expand ourselves and look at that. We haven't done storage units, but you know, that's the next one that needs to happen, and because of the restrictions that subdivisions have about what you can put in. Hopefully that answers, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Bottom line, this is actually reducing the density. It's not taking it out. Not by much, but it's moving one building lot.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, they, if you look at that top section of the proposal, everything that's kind of in the bubble here is brand new. So that wasn't a part of the original. So you can see that there. Existing residence, it was just one single residence on this property. And they didn't include any development in this area. So now they're coming back in and they're proposing development in this area. They did remove one of the parcels they had originally submitted in the staff report to be an open space there. But they are adding units here, and they're adding one fourplex down here so that it's 15 instead of 14. So a total of, I think it's 11 units total is what they're proposing, but they're also adding space here that they're putting some of those units in. Just want to be clear about that.
Yep. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Been moved by Garner, seconded by Morgan to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing is closed. And they bought the property, understand the expansion. I do like that green space for green. Awkward house to live.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question to staff. There was a traffic impact study done on this at the beginning of time.
This development as a whole falls under the traffic study requirement.
Okay.
And so for this specific development, no, there was not a traffic impact study prepared because it did not meet the threshold to require one.
And adding these in that north section wouldn't
It's
lead
still,
to that.
the threshold is 100 units. This is still well below the threshold to require a TIS.
Wait, what? Threshold is 100 units?
Correct.
My math gave me 105 now.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay, I apologize. So 100 vehicle trips within a peak
Okay,
hour.
not 100 doors.
Right, and the multifamily has less peak trips in a peak hour than a single-family residence, and so this would still fall below that TIS threshold. I apologize.
And then there was a question about the intersection improvements.
So the intersection of Eustic and Northside has been designed. There are cost issues with the multiple waterways that are right around that intersection. We originally, when we were looking at the design of that intersection, we were just going to replace the existing culverts that are there that are less expensive than doing full bridges. But because of some design issues that were run into, we had to modify the design to have bridges. And so that pushed the funding year for the construction of this intersection out a few years. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's now 2029 or 2030. But it is still within the 5-year CIP.
Thank you.
Well, I think that what Rodney said about, you're evaluating it for code compliance. Right, and the fact that they're adding another fourplex is that they're utilizing code to their benefit to get another building, because the density, or the requirement for the lot size has changed, so. In the, utilizing that property that they acquired to put it as a part of this as opposed to a standalone piece, I think it makes sense as well, so I like it and I'm all for it.
I was gonna say, I am sympathetic to building houses out there on more farm ground. This is already, I don't see a good reason not to, there's not a big enough change to this plat to have a good reason to deny it, so I'm with Matt.
Especially since, according to Kent, it's already built.
Yeah, there's that.
Mr. Chair, if there's no other conversation or comment, then I'll go ahead and move that we approve the project as stated on the screen for approval.
Second.
Who am I going to give it to?
Whatever you want.
It's been moved by Garner, seconded by Kirkman to approve this item. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Selman, seconded by Dapper to close the public hearing.
No, to adjourn.
To adjourn.